Now, the topic of warm-up sets seems on the surface like a beginner topic to be had, but actually in this video I want to talk about what a warm-up set is, how to use them, and then also on the other hand, how that compares to what a potentiation set does and how to implement those in your training in order to maximize your performance. Because it blows my mind how many people with a great foundation of experience still don't take proper care in preparing for their exercises. So on one hand, we have a warm-up set. Now, a warm-up set is, as you would assume, it's there to warm you up. It's there to increase blood flow to local muscles, lubricate your joints, and then also psychologically get you ready for your working sets. Now, on the other hand, potentiation sets, where the name comes from the fact that we're trying to potentiate the nervous system in order to execute something that is going to be maximally or at least close to challenging. That's a little bit more about skill and execution and a little bit more about force production, and typically they're a bit heavier for less reps. Okay, so on one hand we've got warm-up sets, on the other hand we've got things that are a bit more explosive with higher velocity that we're focusing really on execution and skill for low reps. That is a potentiation set. So in an ideal world, when you're about to perform an exercise like a squat, like a leg press, something heavy, something hard, we want to feature both. Now, that doesn't mean that you only need to use similar protocols for heavy and hard exercises. You can use them for hamstring curls, you can use them for single arm dumbbell rows, you can use them for any exercise, and you will gain a benefit from implementing this protocol or similar one in any context. So, what I'd recommend is for the vast majority of your exercises, having at least one warm-up set. Now, how I would structure a warm-up set prior to your exercises is I would pick a weight that is very light in comparison to the weight you're planning on working with. So maybe 50%, sometimes even a little bit less. And I would just do 3 to 6 reps. Because typically 3 to 6 reps on average is enough to warm you up in the classic sense. But it's not so many reps that it actually does offer you fatigue. So we don't want to carry fatigue across from our warm-up sets that's going to impact our performance with our working sets, but we do want to make sure we're warmed up. So about 50% or even a little bit less of the weight you're intending on using to work with, do about 3 to 6 reps, nice and well executed, similar technique to the technique you're planning on using, and then you can rest. Now, you don't need to rest much because that won't have exhausted you. Rest 20 seconds. Now we want to put on a little bit more weight, and now we want to follow that up with a potentiation set. So your first potentiation set might be 75% of the weight you're intending on working with. So let's say you're going to do a bench press for 100 kg for however many reps. Your first set might be 50 kg, and you might just do 6 reps to warm up. Then, to potentiate and feel a little bit more weight in our hands, we might put on 75 kilograms, and now with a potentiation set, we're focusing a little bit more on the specific technique that you're planning on using when it comes to your heavy sets. We're thinking about moving the bar as fast as possible. We're thinking about velocity. We're thinking about force production, just perfect execution. Because then this is essentially trying to prime us so that we have a greater chance at executing our actual working sets to the best of our ability. So now we might get 75 kg on this bench press example, so 75% of the weight you're planning on working with, and you might just do 1 to 3 reps. Very explosive, very well executed, really envisioning the heavy weight in your hands, and this will prime you much better as opposed to just doing a warm-up set and then going immediately up to 100 kg that you're planning on doing. So you've got your warm-up set, and then usually I recommend following a warm-up set with at least one potentiation set, where you're adding a bit more weight and just doing a bit less reps, but really thinking about the execution, force production, and things of that nature. Now, that's in an example in which an exercise, you've only done one warm-up and one potentiation, and most exercises, that is plenty. Now, we have some exercises that are really heavy and really hard, especially for some people, such as a leg press, where you might want to do multiple potentiation sets. So then, preparing for your exercise or your heavy sets, you might do a warm-up set of 3 to 6 reps at a very low weight, and then you might add a plate on either side, and then do 2 reps, and then rest again, add another plate on each side, then just do 1 rep, really explosive, rest again, do another one, add another plate on each side, do another 1 singular rep, really explosive, and then potentially go into your heavy working set. There's no limitation to how many sets you choose to do, but it's important to understand that the more you prepare and take your time and get ready to shift heavy weight in the most well executed way, the more chances of practicing that and envisioning that you give yourself as you build up to your heavy weight, the better you'll perform your actual working sets. There's nothing worse than marching up to an exercise in which does require good mobility, is going to be heavy, is going to be challenging. You hardly warm up, you dive straight into it, you can't get the range of motion you want, your joints start to hurt, you don't feel as strong as you could, and you walk away and you haven't progressed. When you compare that to taking your time, as I described, preparing for an exercise with not just warm-up sets, but also potentiation sets, mark the difference in your progress, or your performance rather, and the difference is sometimes amazing. So, if you are more intermediate to advanced, you should be taking your preparation for your exercises a little bit more seriously. You can't really say you're taking your training seriously if you can't even take not that long at all to prepare for your exercises properly and warm up, but then also potentiate in preparation for them as well. So hopefully that makes sense, the difference between warm-ups and potentiations. Give this a try. If you have any further questions, drop a message in my message box and I'll chat to you in the next one.